It is the start of the most wonderful week in NFL DFS. We have 3 podcasts across the next 3 days. We're going to recap week 11 right now, which will talk about a lot of guys impactful on the week. The Thanksgiving slate, and also talk about the week 12 main slate. There is a lot to discuss, a lot to break down, a lot of fun performances. Let's dive on in and recap week 11 in the NFL. Welcome on into the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast, powered by numberFire. That's right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and numberFire.com. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, joined here as always by Brandon Gdula. He is the senior managing editor of numberFire.com. Brandon, it's the most wonderful week of the year. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Jim. It's the true. We get the true Amansky week. Back to back.
Tom? Oh, sorry. I
back to back NFL podcast.
Wow. How dare I doubt? Brandon Gdula. Sorry, Tom Gdula.
I mean, what could be better?
Brandon Amansky, I think, is better. We'll go with that. Brandon Amansky. Yeah.
I mean, it also clarifies what the joke is.
Can we get Fred McGriff to cut a promo for the show? Can we do that, or is he? He's
maybe. And now we need
around, right?
We need some B-roll of us. We'll NFL, we'll footballify the commercial, but
I was gonna catch a ground ball with a football between my legs.
Yeah, we need some B-roll of us throwing some.
I can one hop into first base from third, maybe if I really throw out my arm trying to do so. I guess.
Yeah, I was a first baseman. I had no arm. I was accurate, but I had no arm. But yeah, I mean, I guess we needed the Mansky drills, but no, I can't get that out of my head.
I could use Tommy Mansky drills for DFS after yesterday. Talked myself into some Kenyon Drake, which was not ideal. Shouldn't have done that. Had some other mistakes, although everyone else made mistakes too. So it didn't wind up being as bad as it could have been. But mistakes were definitely made. We're going to break down what those mistakes were. We're going to talk about Tony Pollard going absolutely bananas, break down what that means for Thanksgiving, and get you set for the week that comes ahead in just one segment. First, here's our schedule for this week on the podcasting side. You're listening to the Week 11 recap. I know, spoiler alert to those of you already listening to this. Our Thanksgiving preview will be tomorrow, noon Eastern on Tuesday, live on the FanDuel YouTube page and up on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. After that, breaking down the 3 games of Thanksgiving and the overall slate there. We'll have our week 12 main slate preview also at noon Eastern on Wednesday. So Thanksgiving Tuesday, week 12 main slate Wednesday, noon Eastern, FanDuel YouTube page, and then up on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed after that. So to get those, subscribe over on the FanDuel YouTube page to watch those live or watch them after the fact, or also check out the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review. Speaking of Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving slate is up over on FanDuel right now. Just a $5 entry with $1 million in total prizes. That is a lot of turkey. That top spot nets you $200,000. More than 1/4 of the field will also cash. So again, $5 entry fee gets you a shot at $1 million in total prizes, including $200K to first place. To get entered, go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app. Eligibility restrictions apply. Let's look back now, week number 11, and break down the headliner from this week, which was Tony Pollard. Finally got to see him playing alongside Ezekiel Elliott, and Pollard went nuts. He turned 15 carries and 6 targets into 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. He outsnapped Zeke Elliott 27-15 in the first half. Snap rate was 63% in the fourth quarter and 66% in the first half for Pollard. So Zeke still got some impactful touches, and I thought he looked pretty good on those plays. His yards per carry won't be high, but his successor is very high. He was accomplishing what they wanted to do, but Tony Pollard's hitting home runs. He's hitting dingers, and he looked really good. So we've seen it now. We now know, at least have an idea of what this could look like. What's your view of Pollard going forward, knowing he can do this even with Zeke being active?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew that he could do it with Zeke because he's shown flashes of it. Now he's in that extended role. You can't really look at the full game for this one because it was such a rout. But did lead the team with 6 targets. What I think is maybe more impactful even is that he had just threw 3 fewer routes than CeeDee Lamb. So that's really good involvement relative to like the other key starter within this passing offense. But yeah, I mean, obviously the arrow's up and the arrow's been up on Pollard. He's very good with his role. But as you mentioned, I do think that we'll still see Ezekiel Elliott be relevant, steal some short yardage carries, be efficient relative to what Ezekiel Elliott needs to do, which is pick up successful rushes, not break 30-yard rushes. As I'm saying that, it kind of reminds me of this year between David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert whenever they were healthy, where Montgomery's wasn't breaking long rushes, but he was fairly successful, but by comparison. But a comp that came into my head sort of as like a healthy DeAndre Swift, where there should be a lot of explosive plays. There should be great receiving work, but maybe a little bit of a thorn in the side of someone who can come in and steal some high leverage rushes, be involved. It's not a perfect comp because the offense is notably better, but we're all. It's super easy to go all in on Tony Pollard. I still think there's a little bit of hesitancy to before I'm there, but I mean, for what it was, absolutely phenomenal showing.
My comp would be Aaron Jones if his quarterback were playing better, and because he's going to get you,
which is to me like DeAndre Swift when he's healthy.
Yeah, I just haven't seen that in so long.
I know.
I have no concept of what he's like.
That's true.
We've also never seen him with I don't know. I'm not going to besmirch my guy Jared. But Dak was sick yesterday, and if you gave the Packers a quarterback playing as well as Dak right now, I feel like Aaron Jones would be doing this too. That's a very valuable role because even on a half PPR side like FanDuel, we want efficient passing game work. That yardage is worth a whole lot. And as he showed, he does have touchdown equity as well because he got a couple carries on the goal line, even with Zeke being there. It didn't work out, and they eventually did turn to Zeke for one of those touchdowns because Pollard couldn't squeeze his way in, but he doesn't turn to dust at the goal line, which is similar to Jones. He's going to have effective creative targets, which we saw as well. Pollard 3 out of 11 red zone opportunities in this game. That's not great, but I also don't care that much because he can do a lot else. So name that salary on Pollard. For Thanksgiving, they face the Giants in that one. I wouldn't, when you're doing this, account for the fact that salaries can get fluky based on the shorter slate where they account for what else is available.
Yeah. So we'll basically apply main slate salary concepts here. Yep. He was 8,000 this week. I thought, we talked about him being very relevant, especially as a bit of a pivot away if we had Ezekiel Elliott back. I'd probably bump him up. I think I'd probably cap it at 85, but I think that's where I'd be with Pollard.
I was going back and forth between 85 and 83, and he is 85. So fully appropriate, not like I must jam this guy into every roster kind of salary, but this guy is a viable stud with a non-outrageous salary on a short slate.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have Saquon, Dalvin.
I know.
Oh boy, that's gonna be, and we're gonna maybe Dak will just stay 72 for the rest of his life, but
really don't want to look ahead. Because thinking about those guys' salaries is making me realize how much Devin single digits I'll have to use. I think I might have to retract the nickname because of some stuff we'll talk about later on. But I'm going to have a lot of him and I'm very upset about it. But Pollard at 85, fully justifiable. I think they got that salary very right, personally.
Yes. Whether that is the best play relative to salary.
That's a different discussion.
That's a different discussion.
Absolutely. And we'll have that discussion. What about the rest of this offense? Because like I said, Dak was stupid. Okay, so there were 20 pass attempts yesterday where Dak Prescott was not pressured. What do you think his completion percentage was on those 20 passes?
100%.
100%. 20 of 20. He was 3 of 3 on passes, 20 plus yards downfield. His CPOE was 21.8%. Plus 21.8%. I guess I should clarify that. He was flamethrower Dak. We haven't seen flamethrower Dak in a while, a couple years. Well, I guess before he got hurt that one year. But name the salary for Dak in that same spot, because it could be a situation where you just maybe if everyone goes to Josh Allen and everyone goes to Pollard, you can pivot and go to Dak and the passing offense instead.
So if again, assuming this was like a main slate, I'd probably put Dak at like 81.
I was gonna say 8,000 flat. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about his efficiency. It's been there. Starting to run the ball, which is a huge vote of.
They had a design run on 3rd and 6, and I like almost like vomited out of happiness. I vomited out of happiness like decently often, but like that was close there too.
Yeah. I guess I don't really know what the right term is, but like I love to see it. It's like a vote of confidence for me to see that in him.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, and then we know like generally who to stack him with. CeeDee Lamb in the games with Dak back has a 27% target share, 40% air yard share, 4.5 downfield targets per game. So 10 yards downfield or longer. Dalton Schultz, 20% as well. When this offense is healthy, one of the best in DFS because it's a pretty narrow, I know we like Michael Gallup, and I think that on a 3-game slate, he's going to be relevant, but great offense. Love it. Love Dak, love Pollard, love CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. Schultz, 2 red zone targets here. He had 4 the past week, so he had 6 red zone targets the past 2 games. So we'll be talking about him on Tuesday. I have to correct my days of the week on Tuesday for sure. But really fun to watch that Cowboys offense in full form. Let's dig into the injuries here from week number 11, starting out with Joe Mixon, suffered a concussion and was ruled out for the Bengals. Samaje Perine wound up playing 69% of the snaps, 11 carries and 4 targets. 2 of those targets did wind up being touchdowns. So Perine will not be a 90% snap guy, I wouldn't think, because they had Travion Williams, they've got Chris Evans. I think Evans is healthy. I don't think he was active yesterday, but I think he's healthy. But they've got 2 guys there who can take away, and he's not like a dominant force, but he'll get passing game work. He should get goal line work. That's a valuable role. So if Mixon misses time, how would you view Perine in this offense?
Yeah, really trying to think of a good comp here because you're taking away basically someone who has, I'll say 3-down ability, even though Samaje Perine can mix in and get a lot of passing work. But, you don't just plug in Samaje Perine for Joe Mixon 1-to-1.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out like what a majority snap rate with the passing game work within this offense is worth. Jamar Chase should be back from all indications, so that's going to help the offense. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like if there's no Mixon and Perine is, and this might be a bit high, but like 67 or lower, I would have a lot of interest just based on how running back tends to shake out. So if
where would it have to be where you're like, okay, he's like a 30% kind of guy for me? Where's the tipping point for you?
If it's like 63, I'm probably there. If it's 67 or lower, I'd still have some interest. I could be a lot higher on him or a lot lower. It's hard to tell.
I was thinking like 76.
Oh, wow.
Well, like, it's a very good offense.
Yeah. What do you think? Okay. What do you think a snap rate would be? Then maybe that's the best.
75.
Okay. I was thinking like 65.
Okay. Well, he's 69% this one. So
I know,
like
but
Nixon played 21%.
Yeah,
it is always important what you're doing here. It's important to do it where you adjust for, okay, they can game plan around Mixon not being there. That's a very different situation. So you're fair to have like those reservations, but we've seen them rely on Perine in the past. They relied on him here. It's passing game plus goal line. That is a really valuable situation on an offense that's good. So I would think his value would be like around 76.
Okay.
It's 66.
Okay.
It is a difficult matchup with Tennessee. They're a very good rush defense, especially with Jeffrey Simmons having extra rest. He played Thursday, but now extra rest. To go into this one, what?
Just, sometimes you never know. And it's tough to put yourself out there and like throw out salaries because you can be way off. One of those spots where you're about 1,000 higher than what it actually is. And I still see the case for it, but
yeah.
I think so like I said, at 66, I'm going to be there. If he was 76, I would not get there because
interesting. Okay.
Alvin Kamara was 75 this past week, and I didn't absolutely adore him. So if I put Perine at 76, I don't know what I'm doing.
I think there are a lot of similarities. There's no Taysom Hill on the Bengals. I just think that it's really hard for me to put a guy who is going to get passing game work and goal line work on that offense lower than 76.
So then at 66, is he an absolute write down and someone that you're basically saying, I don't comprehend how I'm not going to have him in my main lineup this week?
Yeah. Okay. If there's no Mixon, yeah, he would be there for me. And like, it sounds like he's a little bit lower than that for you, which is fine. I mean, it's Samaje Perine. Like,
yes,
that's fair, So I can't push back on it that much, but that's where I'm at on it. I just think that role is very valuable. Not as valuable situation, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire suffered an ankle injury and missed most of last night's game. Jerick McKinnon wound up playing half the snaps with Isaiah Pacheco at 42%. Pacheco, though, 15 carries, 107 yards, ran 10 routes on 35 dropbacks. So that's not great, the passing game work. And that's not going to change, I don't think, with CEH out. They like McKinnon a lot there. We typically don't get to rush-only backs in DFS, but this offense is different. And with no CEH, Pacheco's going to dominate the early down role. So is that enough to put you on Pacheco in DFS with CEH likely to miss time?
So I'll do what we used to kind of do with CEH and some other backs. Like, would you use, just a back on a really good offense at a low enough salary? And I think for Pacheco, I'd kind of be there. He's really – so his snap rate is never going to be phenomenal, and his workload overall is not going to be phenomenal. But he did go out wide, a few times, ran some routes on Sunday Night Football. I was kind of watching that to see how that evolved for him. But he has had a carry or target on 51% of his snaps, which is a pretty elevated rate. Like Nick Chubb's at 55%, same as Dameon Pierce. Javonte Williams, our guy, 52%. Like, it's a really good per snap workload, and that's fine. It's going to sound really bad, and I guess it maybe is like a bit of a Rorschach test, but we've seen at times someone be on the low end DFS relevant toward the end of his career. Not a lot of passing, but when he's on the field, he was getting work, and like that makes the snap rate kind of misleading. And I'm thinking like Adrian Peterson, where it's like, okay, 50% snap rate is a good thing, but he's getting a 67, 2/3% workload for most guys, but on fewer snaps. So I think that's appealing, especially whenever we're going to need some value backs, whenever we can get them.
Yeah, they're facing the Rams next week, so it's a tough rushing matchup, but they're also 14-point favorites justifiably, which is wild, by the way. It's justifiable. I pulled up his route chart, and according to Next Gen Stats, he did want to run a wheel route, and that one wheel route is going to stick in my head because it's like, Pacheco on a wheel route. That sounds fun. Get a little feisty.
Just 5 fewer routes than Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, McKinnon's like, they definitely like him more for pass blocking.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But like, I think that the pitch for Pacheco is that he's going to play a lot in early downs, and the Chiefs throw a lot in early downs, so that could help him. I don't think his target projection is 0, and I think that's important to know. So I would say his salary for this role in this offense is 64. Is that right for you?
Yeah.
63. So
yeah, I think the low, like mid to low sixes is right. So it sounds like you're way more in on Samaje Perine than Isaiah Pacheco, which I understand for sure.
Yeah, I just want the passing game work. I love it. It's tough for me to say no to that.
I hear you.
Yeah. Well, you're higher on Perine than Pacheco too, or do you think they're basically the same?
Yeah, I'm a bit higher, but not substantially so. Okay. And I guess to the point where it's like, I should be higher on Perine, but I don't think I'd get like 76 high.
That's fair. Kadarius Toney was ruled out for the Chiefs with a hamstring injury, so everyone gets to be right. He was great when he played, and now he got hurt, so everyone's right. It's a good situation. He has string cheese hamstrings. Travis Kelce led with 10 targets and 3 touchdowns because, of course, he did. He's awesome. But Sky Moore finally did something. He ran just 14 routes, but earned 6 targets, turned them into 63 yards. Justin Watson and MVS both had 2 deep targets. Moore had 1. I'm shocked MVS had 2 targets overall. Anyway, Watson led the team in routes run. He had 4 targets on 67 yards. So Moore didn't play a full role, and Juju Smith-Schuster could be back next week. What's your view of this offense if we assume that Tony does wind up missing time?
This is one of those where there's too many guys to keep track of, and
Correct.
too many I don't want to call them like bit players. Or
I need like a family tree. Okay, so Hardman's on IR, Juju's in concussion protocol, but it didn't look good, so it's no guarantees back. We'll figure this one out.
No lie, I go through this every single season with the Giants, and I'm like, I can't remember which receivers are healthy.
The good thing is you don't need to,
right? But like, you need to be a little bit more, a little more tuned in. I love Sky Moore coming out of college. I think his profile is really fun. I need to see a bit more in terms of the route rate. It's been, we're through week 11, and if all these injuries led to 14 routes, that's a bit concerning for me. So am I assuming Juju's out or back?
Probably back, but not guaranteed.
Okay, if he's back, I'll go back there. He's really separated from everyone else within this offense outside of Travis Kelce, obviously. But with no Juju, no Tony, I would really need a low salary on Sky Moore.
And if there is Juju, you say no Sky Moore? Because I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
No, it would just be Kelce and Juju, and that's fine.
Yeah, the Chiefs were really run heavy relative to expectation, relative to their normal expectation. Probably because you can't run on the Chargers, but
they ran. I think it was also in part because they were down so many receivers. They played a lot of Noah Gray and Jody Foster. I'm just going to keep saying Jody Foster. Jody Fortson, you made it in the NFL. You had a great catch last night. You deserve to have your name said. Jody Fortson. I'm sorry.
Joe.
Yeah. What?
His name is Joe.
No, it's Jody. Jody Fortson. Come on, man.
Well, NDS has him as Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. Why would they do that? Anyway, I'm like they do have
Fortson.
Joe Fortson. Jody. Why do I think the Jody Foster thing popped up? Anyway, Jody Fortson. They were just using their big dudes.
So his real name's Joseph, but he goes by Jody.
Okay. I support Jody. Jody's better than Joe. Anyway, those guys both played a lot. So they went to big personnel. That's why I can't have a ton of faith in Sky Moore, because I know that they're not guaranteed. Holy crap. Noah Gray had a 61% snap rate. My goodness. So they just went a lot of big personnel because all their guys were hurt, which makes total sense. So that's why I'm okay narrowing things down and not chasing Sky Moore if Juju is active. And I'll still be a bit wary of him even if Juju's out, honestly.
So Justin Watson, 97% route rate, 4 targets. Is that do enough for you? Huge ADOT.
If there's no Juju, I think I'd consider him.
All four of his targets were at least 10 yards downfield for an ADOT of 21.1.
He's also decently athletic, which I like. I remember digging into a lot when the Bucs had all those injuries back in the day. He was one of the guys who circled in, and he's not bad. So I think that if we got no Juju, I would have probably equal amounts of both, and I'm guessing people will be higher on Sky Moore than Watson. So I'd probably wind up inherently being higher on Watson than consensus.
Yeah.
Watson's salary for next week, he's on the main slate. 5,000. That's not bad. Sky Moore is 54. That's also appropriate. I think both those are appropriate, and I'd be okay looking at those. Kelce comes in 82. That's actually lower than I thought it. I thought they might drop an 85 on us again.
Yeah,
but
Juju's only 66.
Yeah, I'd love to go Juju if we can get to him. I'm hoping I hope he's healthy for his own sake, because that looked bad. But also that would be a really good salary to get him in. What's Mahomes at if these guys are here? Because that could be an easy stack. 9,000's a little, whatever. Okay, Mike Williams came back from his ankle injury and then didn't. Left almost immediately last night, limped off. Good stuff. Keenan Allen is back though, and he was back. He was back. Finished with 8 targets. Josh Palmer, once they get back, finally goes nuts because of course. 10 targets for him. Nobody else had more than 3, and both Palmer and Allen had more than 90 receiving yards. Justin Herbert, a bit more vertical here, 8.4 yard ADOT. So even with Williams leaving, I think that my opinion of this passing offense went up last night, which is weird. Gerald Everett also missed this game with a groin injury. Maybe that's why my opinion of it went up. But what's your view of Allen and Palmer if we assume that Williams is out a bit longer?
Yeah, I'd like both. Keenan Allen, I feels like I was lower on Keenan Allen early in his career than most, and now it seems like I'm higher on Keenan Allen than most. I know he's not like the most explosive player, but he's really, really good at football, and like that matters whenever a team has Justin Herbert as their quarterback and also not a whole lot else to throw to. That's going to lead to elevated volume. He was really good last year in terms of target share game to game. So I love Allen. I would get to Palmer as well if I like the game. It helps me. We haven't really played Justin Herbert at all this year. Maybe early on in the season, we kind of got there, but he's pretty fun. So I'm kind of interested. And I think I'd be willing to go like 76 on Keenan Allen in the right spots.
Facing the Cardinals next week, who just lost their top corner. Keenan's salary is 73.
Okay.
Palmer's salary is 68. That's a little higher than I think. That gap should be larger between the two of them. But it's not terrible. Like if I were stacking with Herbert, I'd still include Palmer, but I'd have a pretty heavy skew towards Allen at those respective salaries.
Herbert's 79. I don't know what the full slate's going to look like just yet, but we won't have Josh Allen on it. No Dak.
Might be facing Colt McCoy to keep that game more competitive for the entire. There's the worst. I think that's not bad. We did see Eckler's passing game role get a bit of a ding, but we talked earlier this year about his red zone role. This did not age well. He had 7 red zone chances on Sunday, so the red zone of fears have been blasted in outer space. So I feel like I'm just going to embrace it with Eckler and be fine with him. I don't know what his salary is. He's 88. That's fine for his role. Not as much passing game work with Keenan being back, but he's fine. So no real objections there. Justin Fields was favoring his left shoulder during the second half of Sunday's game. He was getting it evaluated after, and it sounds like there's a decent chance he doesn't play this week. He took a lot of hits, and that's kind of the risk with running this kind of offense. That could impact Fields' willingness to run, even if he winds up playing. I was leading Courtney Cronin had a piece on ESPN up this morning, and apparently Fields didn't scramble at all in the second half after scrambling 5 times in the first half. Seems like that stuff added up. That could negatively impact this offense, even if Fields plays. David Montgomery, solid role for him in his first game with no Khalil Herbert. 79% snap rate, 17 carries, 3 targets, 121 yards. So where are you on Fields with his injury? And how are you viewing Montgomery with and without Fields?
Yeah, so with Fields, he's already been talking about his legs being tired. If he now has the shoulder, seems not good enough to put him through the grinder and make him carry the ball time and time again. And frankly, I like Justin Fields as a player, but passing has already not been there. In terms of, again, he's one 200-yard game. He's maxed out at 208 yards passing. So if you take away part of the rushing, you could cut it in half. He'd still have 9 carries if we went based on last week. But he's scoring at a really unsustainable rate. I would have a really hard time playing Fields, at 85 if he's dealing with such heavy injuries. And then for Montgomery, you could make the case, yes, they'll lean on Montgomery more, but the offense is going to get much worse because this team can be efficient on the ground because Justin Fields is so good on the ground. I would assume Montgomery's salary bumped up substantially from 62.
Yeah.
If there's no Fields, I don't know if I could really play him above 7,000.
Correct. Part of the thought process with Montgomery was, okay, it's a rushing quarterback. That's good for him, opens more rushing lanes, and they're more efficient. If you take away both those things, I believe Trevor Siemian is still their backup, and it'd be a touchdown Trevor Siemian revenge game. Just throwing that out there. Sorry. Did you know this? I think that Montgomery would be like 66 in my mind if there were no Fields. If there is Fields, 72, I'll go with. Oh, he's 75. Against the Jets, that's tough.
I think that's tough. I think he's going to be an optimizer love, though.
At 75 even?
I think so. If you can just add like market share to his rushing and take it away from Fields.
That's bad. I bet the Jets -4. I didn't learn my lesson from yesterday. I'm a dummy, so I hate money. But
if we get whatever the Jets do at quarterback versus
Mike White against Trevor Siemian, oh, Super Bowl, baby. Like
over under 10 points.
I have Red Zone now, but I feel like I would try to make it be that only that game on my TV. If it's Mike White versus Trevor Siemian, sign me up, baby. I'm in. That's all I need. Matthew Stafford left Sunday's game with a head injury. Sean McVay did not confirm after the game whether Stafford was in concussion protocol or not. We were crossing this offense off even when Stafford was healthy. We can cross him off in ink if he's out, right?
Yeah, nobody had more than 45 yards here, other than Tutu Atwell, who ran one route and had it cut down.
Didn't realize that. Do you know why I didn't realize that? It's because I didn't dig into this team because they're stupid and they're a cross off.
Yeah, I just want again, we talked about like last week entering the slate, like making sure that there weren't teams that we were, crossing off, being a little bit too dismissive of. This couldn't be a better example of like take Cooper Kupp off the field and it doesn't make these guys relevant. It just hurts.
Yeah. How did they score 20 points? I know that they had the 2-2 touchdown, but like that's weird. It's weird. How did the Saints give up? That's the better question. How did the Saints give up 20 points? I guess Davenport is out, but like still bad. Kyle Pitts went to the medical tent with a knee injury in the third quarter and did not return. Still led the team with 5 targets. That's a depressing sentence. Nobody else had more than 3. That's worse. In the one games Pitts missed, London had 7 targets. But this offense could also just get downgraded if Pitts is out because he's a good football player. Would you be willing to go at London if Pitts is out of the equation?
I mean, you could give him you could sneak him some target share projection, and it's still not going to get up to like 9.
Right.
It's really difficult. This team just does not want to throw the football. It is increasingly clear. I think at a certain point you're just capping your lineups. Like, how does Drake London get to 100 yards aside from having like a 40-yard catch? Like,
I don't know.
It just doesn't seem like it's likely. So
yeah,
I think I got to be out. Who do they play next week?
Washington, who's playing really well, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. So that's not a game I'm going to stack. So even then, Drake London.
Really? Surprised by that. Jalen Warren suffered a hamstring injury for the Steelers. He was ruled out for the game. Najee Harris, back from the dead, 93% snap rate. He turned 20 carries and 6 targets into 116 yards from scrimmage. Najee had not topped 89 yards until last week. 99 there, 116 this week. So Najee finally getting some effectiveness, may go back to being a feature back. Are we actually considering Najee Harris once again?
So things are better. It kind of seems like, so since their bye, he's at 107.5 scrimmage yards per game, 75% snap rate. Actually rushing over expectation per carry, not substantially so.
I think he had his longest career rush last week. It was like 36 yards.
Yeah. It seems I don't know if it's the bye. I don't know if it was the talks of like, hey man, like you might lose your job, but like
he did have a foot injury in the preseason. Maybe it was like actually hurting him. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they were talking. I guess he had like a mold in his foot that like kept things in place, and so he, early on was exceptionally inefficient. So maybe he is just getting healthier. Although within this offense, like we still wouldn't have really been there. This is a really difficult one because he could be a featured running back just within a bad offense and not necessarily able to make the most of his opportunities. So I'm not going to cross him off.
Yeah.
At this point, if the salary's right, the question is like, how low does that salary need to be before I'm being dumb? And I'm thinking like 67.
That's what I thought too. Exact same number. It's like there are obvious limitations, but it's better now than it was. Yeah. We were talking about this before, and I was like, I need his salary to be $500, like $500 to use him. That's no longer the case because he can actually score points. So it's better than it was. They're on Monday night against the Colts. Very good rush defense, so I wouldn't get super enthusiastic for the single game slate, although outside of JT, who are you getting pumped for in that one? But
the defenses, I guess.
I don't want to watch that game.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that game. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Bummer note to finish on for the injuries. Wan'Dale Robinson suffered a torn ACL Sunday. He'll miss the rest of the season. That stinks. Wan'Dale's a fun player. Like, we weren't getting to him in DFS, but like, he's a fun player. Robinson led the Giants with 13 targets despite leaving early. Darius Slayton had 10. The only other Giants with more than 3, only other Giant more than 3 was Saquon Barkley. He had 5 targets. In the 2 games they played without Wan'Dale, Sterling Shepard, or Kadarius Toney, Slayton has a 22% target share with 48% of the air yards, 13.9 yard ADOT. So we know this passing offense has its limitations, but where are they going to go, man? How confident are you in Darius Slayton given the Wan'Dale Robinson injury?
So I guess I should probably point out that this might sound a bit similar to the Drake London situation where it's like, where else are they going to go? But the Falcons are not going to go to any receiver because they won't throw it. Right. The Giants are not that bad with their passing numbers. I think Slayton, maybe like a historical Brandon Cooks, just a guy who can get like a 30% target share and an offense you don't love. Has some downfield juice.
I was expecting to be offended by that, but I wasn't.
I mean, Brandon Cooks he's been good on.
No, I was offended by besmirching Brandon Cooks. I thought because I used to love Brandon Cooks. Yeah, but like, no, I think that's actually kind of okay, like a lesser version, but like I think that's fine, yeah.
And like we've seen Cooks in those kinds of spots be like 67 to 7,000. I'd have a bit of a hard time getting there. But if Slayton's like 64, 65, I'm usually never playing receivers at 64 and 65 because it's right on the brink of like better players whose roles have changed for the worse and they're not coming back, or guys who have overperformed.
Allen Robinson.
I think Slayton would be like a bit of an outlier in that regard, but I'd have interest. And on the Thanksgiving slate, Slayton's going to be someone that we're pretty into.
It's exactly 64. Fair. They typically don't use Trayvon Diggs as like a shadow guy. They will in certain situations though, and I wouldn't be shocked if they did here. Now that's not like you cross off Slayton because that like Diggs is very aggressive and that can still lead to yardage. But I wouldn't be shocked if he were to follow him around. I think 64 is fine. He gets downfield work.
Point with these salaries today.
Yeah, you're cooking. We made this a competition, which we shouldn't because I can't handle that. You'd be beating me. But also we're not trying to predict the salary, Brandon. Maybe it's FanDuel that's nailing it. Love FanDuel. FanDuel, great job. It's almost like
Slayton too. Yeah, better. He should have a better catch rate moving forward.
I mean, should he?
Yeah.
Consider the factors that are leading to a lower catch rate than expected, Brandon. Consider those factors. Danny Dimes, just dropping dimes. Not.
Yeah.
I think 64 is fine because we need yardage upside. He's proven that he has that. He's going to get downfield work. They're playing indoors. That's totally fine. I'm not going to Kenny Galladay. Maybe Tanner Hudson. No, he got his rate cut. His rule got cut down last week because they decided to go to Lawrence Cager. I didn't realize moved to tight receiver, but apparently they moved him to tight end. So yeah, this week, oh wow, Hudson got dusted. Cager played 72% of the snaps. My goodness.
Yeah, he ran 31 routes.
31 routes. Maybe we have to use Lawrence Cager on Thanksgiving? It's
in the note sheet, man.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't read the notes. Those are your notes.
Isaiah Hodgins ran 27 routes and Galladay ran 20. So
Cager did have like a very long preseason touchdown for the Jets back in the day when he was still a wide receiver. Is he tight end? No, he's receiver eligible on FanDuel. No. Can we like contact someone? I want to be tight end eligible, please, for my family. Let him be a tight end. Oh, well. Okay. Let's dig into role changes and go all the way back to Thursday because Christian Watson, another multi-touchdown game on Thursday. He scored twice on 6 targets with 48 yards. 2 of his targets were deep. 3 were in the red zone. High leverage stuff. The Packers 3 more due to a negative script. But Watson was super involved early on. So there are downsides to this offense, but the production should keep him involved, even if they're not super pass heavy. Allen Lazard, 11 targets. Randall Cobb came off IR with 6 targets. And of course, no Romeo Doubs here. Aaron Jones had 7. So Watson, not the best target share, but he's productive, and that does matter because it could lead to more usage in the future. So what's your read on Christian Watson after Thursday night's game?
Yeah, it seems like Rodgers likes him. Is willing to go there. Over the past 2 games, which basically factors in an up and down performance in terms of market share for Watson, but like a steady share for Lazard. They're about the same in terms of target share. The performance in terms of catch rate definitely favors Watson over Lazard, and it's not like it's just bunny targets for him. 19.5 yard ADOT, a lot of downfield work. So we've been open to Allen Lazard in the past. He gets more downfield work than
he should. I finished the sentence for you.
Than some people might think. I guess I'll finish it that way then instead. But
it's more downfield work than he should.
I need to keep the brakes pumped a little bit with Watson because he's scoring at an elevated rate. This team is really slow. They do not want to. They don't want passing volume.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think, and we're going to talk someone who probably fits this a little bit more specifically, but it almost feels like an AJ Brown situation where it's like when he was with the Titans.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like, okay, he could get like 8 targets and score twice, get a lot of downfield chucks. But other than that, there might not be a whole lot there. So I'm kind of waiting for like the bottom to fall out with Watson.
So basically just volatile.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on a team that specifically doesn't really want to run plays and is okay running the ball a bit more than you think that they are.
I can buy that. I think that's like you're not saying he is AJ Brown, but you're saying they'll have similarities in that like he has a path to upside, but has a lot of volatility. I think I can buy that.
I used to be afraid of not playing AJ Brown.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to talk myself into playing AJ Brown when he would get like, and I'd be like, I'm projecting him for like 6 targets.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play him. And it feels really, really weird and wrong.
Yeah.
But give me is he on the main slate? No, they're
on Sunday night playing the Eagles and AJ Brown.
Yeah. So
let's talk about the Eagles and AJ Brown because we saw them in the first game without Dallas Goedert. Eagles super concentrated targets. Devontae Smith had 9 targets. AJ Brown had 7. Both guys had a 30% target share on that. Nobody else had more than 2 targets. Jalen Hurts struggled though. Was not super efficient on his 28 dropbacks. They were pretty run heavy. So offense struggled, but very concentrated usage. What's your view of this passing offense with Goddard set to miss at least 3 more games?
Yeah, pass rate over expectation of minus 14%. That's tough. Season average is a minus 2%. Not the most pass heavy team by any stretch, but they really scaled it back in this one. You don't love to see that, but you do love to see 30+% target shares for guys who actually make a difference. So we're basically just seeing, as we both sort of predicted, Dallas Goedert's workload gets distributed to everyone else. AJ Brown, Devontae get maybe a sprinkle of that, but they're not going to go backwards by any means, and it's not going to elevate anyone else into like the conversation. So I don't really view them that differently. Because their workload's not going to be substantially better or worse without Goddard. I guess it makes the offense maybe a little bit worse because Goddard's really good.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. So then do you need their salaries to be scaled back, including Hurts?
No. Okay. I think that the bump in predictable volume offsets the loss in efficiency for the offense. Hurts, his salary should come down a bit. Like he was 88 this week. I would say 85 is probably better. Because it makes his path to a ceiling more narrow. And I think that matters.
I agree.
If you're playing the single game slate on Sunday, I would note that Jack Stoll was, I thought, going to be a blocker, but he was there passing game tight end. He ran 20 routes. My boy Tyree Jackson ran 2. Grant Calcaterra got called for holding and ran 5 routes. Jack Stoll is a blocker, but he's running routes. I don't think I'd use him on the single game slate still, but if you want to go to tight end, he'd be your guy.
Did you yell at me on Thursday about
for disrespecting Tyree Jackson? Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I remembered that right.
The XFL's greatest quarterback of all time, Tyree Jackson, not PJ Walker. Yes. I forgot that he played quarterback in the XFL. I knew he played quarterback in college, which is why I like him. I forgot he played in the XFL. I thought his transition to tight end was earlier than that, but
some fan you are.
I know. I think I played him in the XFL when we hated ourselves. Cordero Patterson snap rate did scale up in week 11, played 51% of the snaps to the Falcons. Thursday, he played 37%. Tyler Algier did still out snap Patterson. Basically what happened is they cut off Caleb Huntley and Avery Williams. Patterson had 10 carries. Algier had 8. Patterson had both of the red zone rushes by running backs. So Patterson's snap rate is higher than it was, but it's still very flawed. He's splitting a lot of work with Algier. It's not going to be a pass catching role because you can't catch passes they don't throw. He could return a kick for a touchdown. Although I'm assuming not a revenge game next time they play, so he won't return a kick for a touchdown. So is this enough here for you to buy back into Patterson?
I don't think so. I'm already always skeptical on Patterson. I think Algier I think the real question here is, do you think because Patterson came back on a short week, when he finally came back, had the snaps a bit down, they extended, do you think that's a trend and it's going to continue up? Or do you think this is what it is moving forward where Algier and Patterson basically have a 50-50 split? I think Algier played his way into a 50-50 split here.
I agree. I think that's also kind of just what they want to do. So
I don't know what this team wants to do or should do, but they should.
Hey, they won.
I'm sorry.
5-6. They're like tied with the Bucks for first in the NFC South, aren't they?
But should they be?
Yeah. Okay. No, sorry, they're a half game behind the Bucks because the Bucks are 5-5 because they had a bye and the Falcons haven't. I mean, Marcus Mariota is a half game out of the NFC South league. He's half game behind Tom Brady, of course. Of course, they can do whatever they want.
That's true.
Okay. Mea culpa, maybe? We talk a lot about Devin Singletary on the show. I call him Devin single digits. Might need to retract that. And it's not always glowing what he does, but Singletary does now have double-digit carries in 4 of the past 5 games, including 18 in Week 11 against the Browns. Even with James Cook getting 11 carries on his own, Singletary was the guy. He had a 73% snap rate. He ran 13 routes to Cook's 3. Also had a lot of red zone work. I think he had 8 red zone chances. So I think I'm retracting the nickname. I think he's no longer Devin single digits. He might be back to Devin Singletary.
I mean,
is he back? Can I retract this? Go back to my guy?
Didn't we? I mean, last year we liked him a lot.
I know.
We called him double tutty.
Yeah.
But I liked him.
Tutty, I think at one point he had 9 out of 14 red zone chances.
It's pretty sick.
He had not had more than a 36% rate in the entire year. And he's 64% on Sunday.
Pretty sick. Yeah, I mean, so we fought over Singletary early on in the year. You were proven right. So
at the time, not long term.
So I don't really think we need like a mea culpa here.
Okay, well, I'm getting rid of the graphic that said "We're sorry, Devin." If you're watching YouTube, there was a graphic up that said "We're sorry, Devin." I'm retracting it. No apologies.
Oh, I guess maybe I deserve to give a mea culpa. If for you, maybe it was like a mea maxima culpa, but I think overall we're fine. Okay. We're fine changing our opinion here.
Yeah.
I was like we talked on Slack. We both mentioned that we were considering Singletary this week.
Okay. This is a do as I say, not as I do. I had exactly one lineup with Devin Singletary. That's a terrible process. Don't do that, but I did do it. Yeah. I should have had more given the amount of Kenyon Drake I had because I'm a moron.
So I don't know how much of this was played into by the fact that, Buffalo had really weird travel issues. Yeah. They, Josh Allen Probably still not 100% with that shoulder. Probably far
So I have
from
that
it.
in the philosophical stuff. If we want to talk about pass rate down there, or we can just talk about it now. So
I never know what we should do.
they've been run heavy since the Josh Allen elbow injury. They were at 52% early down first half pass rate this week. They were 48% last week, whereas they were 67% before Josh Allen hurt his ankle or his elbow. Those are two very different things. Although the elbow is kind of like the ankle of the arm. Anyway, no, it's not. That's a lie. Okay, whatever. So Singletary has benefited. Gabe has been fine. Diggs kind of weird yesterday, but he was great in week 11. So I think that like Gabe and Diggs still have amazing ceilings, but this hurts their odds of reaching it, I guess. I don't know. What's your read on them? I know you even know on Gabe later. We're going to talk about them here too.
Yeah, so their pass rate over expectation was a minus 5.6% on pass and run plays this week. That was their first week below zero all season. It's about 15 points lower than their season average. So it was a huge deviation. I don't know, again, how much of that factored in based on the injury, the travel, but also a team you can run on, right? That's probably somewhat part of it because it wasn't just Singletary getting, all of a sudden he got, 28 carries. He had 18. James Cook had 11. So like they were just a bit overall more run heavy as a team. It wasn't just Singletary completely breaking out and taking over the backfield. Now I'm not saying that, James Cook is on par with Singletary. Singletary snap rate has always been good. It's just been the workload and the production, the opportunity for Singletary. So I think the arrow's up on Singletary. I do think that eventually the pass rate will go back up when it needs to, because again, we saw the pass rate be fine relative to expectation last week whenever it sort of needed to. This week, short week against Detroit, I would not be surprised if Singletary has another heavy workload, but I also think that James Cook would factor in. So I think I'm just kind of bumping up Singletary, bumping down Josh Allen a bit, and therefore bumping down, Gabe and Diggs in terms of the probability that they truly erupt.
Name me a salary on Singletary on Thanksgiving against the Lions.
So difficult because we're accounting for the matchup as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I could easily get out over my skis with this, but I'm trying to account for the fact that they're playing the Lions. I'll say 72.
Okay. I thought 69. He's 69 exactly.
Okay.
So typically,
I think if it was a neutral matchup, I'd have said like 69 or 7.
Yeah.
So
typically, if we are right at salary, it means we're not going to be like super in on that guy. I'll probably wind up being super in on him because he's an appropriately salaried value play with a path to a good game on a short slate where I'll need to save salary to get to Saquon and Pollard, etc. So
yeah,
I'll probably wind up there. I'm sorry, Devin. We're back on you again. This is once again a Devin Singletary podcast.
Yes.
I take no pleasure in reporting this. With Rashad Bateman on IR, Demarcus Robinson had a huge game on Sunday. I know he's your guy. He finally had more than 50 yards in a game for the first time in like a decade. So
now you need the mea culpa.
I'm not going to do that yet. He led the Ravens with 9 targets. He had both the deep targets and heavy wins. Devin Duvernay just 1 target despite playing a ton of snaps. A lot of cardio for Devin. Good for him. We don't need to apologize for that, Devin. With Mark Andrews back, 8 targets of his own. So he was involved like normal, but Robinson still had room for a big role. Robinson has played pretty well recently. What's your view of him going forward now that we know that Bateman is done for the year?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, just the 2 deep attempts, which are 16 plus yards downfield, but 11 downfield attempts, which I have as 10 plus yards. 5 of those for Robinson, 4 for Andrews. Not saying one of those is like, better than the other, but a lot of intermediate passing, which is
non-bunnies.
If we scale that into like less wind, that's promising. His ADOT this week, 9.2. So
pretty
again,
good.
not substantial, but pretty nice. Duvernay, just the 1 target, but was behind the line of scrimmage. I'm not banking on the efficiency to be what it was. He caught all 9 targets, but we dabbled with Devin Duvernay when he had a role of being featured. I don't really know what the difference would be here, aside from maybe the rushing is not there for Robinson. But
I think Robinson probably has this. My gag reflex is like triggering. He has better yardage upside than Duvernay.
Yeah,
maybe
he does.
Yeah.
So 11 game main slate helps get us a little bit of extra value. But if he's in the 5,000s, I don't really know how I wouldn't get some shares of that.
I'm also going to stack the poop out of that game if there's no win. They're facing Jacksonville. It's a 45.5 point total. Pump it up, baby. Pump it up.
He's 62.
Why? That's appropriate, but I'm annoyed that it's appropriate.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Christian Kirk is 77. Maybe I won't stack this game. I'm sad now.
Well, we'll figure out. I guess we got to do 2 salary scrolls.
What's ETN?
So
that's fine.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
What's Lamar? I'm just gonna keep this 82. Okay.
What's Marky Andrews? What's Zay?
This game? I'm back in. Just when I thought I was out, they put Lamar at 82, and I'm back in, baby. Ha ha. I think 62 is fine for Robinson. It's not like if Darius Slayton were on the main slate and I'd choose between Slayton at 64 and Robinson at 62, I'd probably go Slayton, but it's a discussion. Yeah,
I would too.
Okay. Treylon Burks, nice role for him on Thursday for the Titans. His snap rate was low, but he ran a route on 21 of 32 dropbacks. He earned 8 targets on those 21 routes. That seems good. He had 2 deep targets, 1 in the red zone, turned that into 111 yards. Ryan Tannehill's been playing better than I've given him credit for this year. Is there enough here for you to consider Burks in the right spots?
So the true AJ Brown minus here is Treylon Burks. If you look at the past 2 games, the snap rate's still not there for him. The route rate is a bit better. So he's at a 71% route rate despite a 52% snap rate in that sample. 7 targets per game. Some downfield work, not as much as you might think, because he did catch some downfield stuff on Thursday. I think it's like I feel like for the upside, but also the downside here, he's got to be like in the mid 6s.
I was thinking high 5s.
Okay, I was thinking like 64.
I was thinking like 58.
Okay,
personally, which is like not bad. But it accounts for the downsides. He is 59. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think maybe I'm a bit higher on the ceiling than that, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, it's just like it's hard for me to ever get. Yeah, because you brought up Burrow on Thursday, and I dismissed you. I should apologize to you for that. He was in the perfect lineup, of course. So, 59 is fine, I think. I just worry about teams that don't want to throw. Yeah, like they're not as drastic as other teams are. Let me see here. So this will, no, that include I'll figure out what it is with Tannehill later. But like,
yeah,
I think that's fine. He'll be a value play worth considering on Sunday for sure, I think. The Commanders have been without J.D. McKissic for a few weeks now, but just placed him on IR. And even though they were in a positive script the entire game Sunday, Antonio Gibson kind of featured 67% snap rate with Brian Robinson playing the other third of snaps. Gibson, 18 carries and 3 targets. He had 4 out of 7 red zone carries. Robinson had 15 carries, but ran just 5 routes. Gibson ran 19. So that's a pretty major bucking of expectations for me with Gibson playing that much in that script specifically. Is it enough for you to be on Gibson in DFS or no?
They play Atlanta next week. And Atlanta turned Deontay Foreman into a league winner. So that's a bit appealing, at least.
Name me a salary so we know if we're like... Because like if he's super high, then it changes everything.
Yeah. I don't think I could play Gibson if he's above, because of the matchup and the fact that he can get receiving work. If he's above, like, I'd go 68.
Yeah. I feel hypocritical because I was slobbering over Samaje Perine because he'll get passing game and goal line work. And Gibson got both on Sunday. I'm just not sure if I'd project him to get both going forward. Whereas with Perine, I would. So I had Perine at 76. I think 69 is appropriate for Gibson.
He's 61.
Oh my goodness. Whew. So the good thing is, like, you can get points in a hurry with the kinds of touches he gets. And I think that's encouraging for me.
I think there's room for his role to scale back from what it was in week 11 and for him still to hit whatever our value threshold is at 61 because the matchup's so good. I don't think there's a situation where Washington played from ahead and gave him a 67% snap rate, and then they play from ahead next week and it's Brian Robinson playing 70%.
Right.
I think Gibson's role is fairly secure. My question to you now is, and I'm assuming it's still Perine, but Perine at his salary of 66 or Gibson at 61?
So if we get Perine, I would go Perine, but Gibson's in that tier.
I think at a certain point for certain players, you have to factor in the matchup, and one is basically as hard as it gets, and one's about as easy as it gets, plus 500 in savings. I think Gibson's a borderline write down for me at that salary.
I already wrote him down
because I think there's room for that to scale back and for him still to be a good play.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other takeaway is we're gonna be able to use value backs in this slate. Even if we don't get Mix or Perine without Mixon, we're gonna have value via Gibson. You could consider Pacheco at 63. I'm less enthusiastic about it, knowing that we have Gibson down there, but he's a write down for me. I think that's a really good salary.
And we're not ahead to the main slate yet, but we won't have JT on the main slate. No Aaron Jones, no Dalvin, Saquon, Pollard.
But we do have
and other superstar running backs such as
have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson. Yes. I heard the Devin Singletary thing.
I was gonna say Devin Singletary, superstar.
You accuse me of not listening to you, but I hear you when you try to slip these things in,
such as Devin Singletary and Jamal Williams.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that. Do you know DeAndre Swift had more red zone chances than Jamal Williams on Sunday? He had 4. Jamal had 3. Just happened to score at all 3.
As someone very invested in DeAndre Swift, I did know that. But
okay, I think Robinson's a write down in 61.
Gibson.
Sorry, what did I say? Robinson, Gibson. Yeah. Thank you. They're all sons. Anyway,
yeah,
we are all sons.
Come on, son.
Those of us who are, yeah, exactly. Okay, with Jerry Jeudy not playing, the Broncos spread things out. As expected, Courtland Sutton had 7 targets for 80 yards. 6 other Broncos had between 2 and 5 targets. None of them had more than 60 yards. There was just one red zone target for this offense. They scored 16 points against the Raiders. What?
They're the worst team in football.
Yeah. They've had a lot of good matchups this year. They've done nothing with them. Greg Dulcich, 5 targets, 30 yards, 18% target rate. Even without Jeudy, can you use anybody here?
No.
Like, I'm sad. Courtland Sutton's a really good football player, and I'm sad about this.
Yeah.
He was fine for DFS. He had 80 yards, whatever. But
25% target share, 80 yards. I just feel like if you don't have Jeudy, but you do have Courtland Sutton, give him like a 35% target share. What do you have to lose, right? Like, you haven't scored more than 23 points all season. You're playing the
well. Okay, so you've been talking to me about this philosophy of like, oh, if it's like 2 terrible quarterbacks, you just bet the under always. I was like thinking about that with Mac Wilson and Mac Wilson. No, I'm sticking with it. Mac Wilson, it sticks.
Yeah.
They're the same person. We just don't know it on the Mac side yet. They're facing Carolina next week.
How does that game score points?
Well, apparently it's supposed to score 35.5.
Like that's laughably low for 2022 NFL season. But I don't know how these teams score that many points.
I have a model that projects out like game-wide offensive efficiency. Like the two teams, like the sum of their efficiency, basically. I've never seen a negative number until now. This doesn't include week 11 yet, where Baker Mayfield was like negative 0.46 passing out expected points per dropback. And Russ, I can't assume he was positive. And after the opponent adjustment, it'll probably be even worse.
Oh yeah.
Like, are these the two worst offenses? Let me check. They're not. I don't think. Okay. Offensive power rankings, 2022 only. Okay. Denver's 26th. That seems high. Carolina's last. New England is second to last. Mac Wilson.
Yeah. Like, look, points per game is not a good metric. It's very misleading. It's very susceptible to flukiness. I guess over like, as long as the team's relatively healthy by this point in the year, you can kind of trust it. But like at a certain point, they might be underperforming expectation. But if you can't score 23 points, like what are we doing?
Great question. I don't know.
On the Raiders.
At home. The Raiders.
At home.
Also, Gino gets them next week. What's DK's salary? I'm just going to keep looking at these. DK 72. That's fine. Lockett is 74. That's also fine. What's Gino? 76. Okay. Geno Smith never played for the Raiders, right? He played for like everybody else, but I don't think he ever played for the Raiders.
I don't think so. Shame we can't figure that out.
He did not. I'm looking it up now. He feels like a Raider. He should have been a Raider. That seems like a missed chance. Anyway, okay. The Broncos
I'm sure the Raiders would like to have him now.
Carr's fine. Anyway, let's go to situations to monitor. What else did you pick up on this week?
Yeah, not a whole lot because of all the injuries, and I think we covered everything, mostly everything relevant. Jonathan Taylor's snap rate did come back down a bit, 76% this week, but still good, still looked good.
Yeah, Dion got some 2-minute work, and that was the key catalyst behind the snap rate being lower. So I would take the passing game expectations for JT and reduce it 10%, which is something, but not huge.
Yeah, still don't love to see it.
Yeah,
but it's
not a game
possible.
changer. Yeah.
As we mentioned, entering the week, Deontay Foreman was not a lock to have a huge snap rate as a big underdog. 41% of the snaps with Chuba Hubbard getting 37%. So Hubbard scaled back up. Raheem Blackshear 20%. So Foreman, not really the guy who some people maybe thought he was against the Falcons specifically. I'm just saying. Gabe Davis
at Denver next week, so they should win.
He's going to have 19 carries for like 67 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Ugh. That means they have to score twice. I don't think they can do that.
I'm always nervous about Gabe Davis just from a sheer volume standpoint. But he does have at least 7 targets in 3 of the past 4. We're always high on him. Like it's not I don't play him, but I think the fear is a little bit lower, even though we talked about the rushing.
And you're referring to the fear of his like floor, correct? Not the fear of missing out.
Yeah, pure floor of I'm more likely to play him in a head-to-head. Well, I'm still not there, but like he was an absolute no for like a head-to-head.
Correct.
Now I think he's getting there. And not that it's super relevant at all. We just ragged on the Broncos, but Latavius Murray did outsnap Melvin Gordon 50% to 45%. So like even on small slates,
Melvin fumbled again on the goal line.
He did. It was not only did he fumble, but like it went backward. It went like 5 yards backwards, which is somehow much more embarrassing.
And then Chase Edmonds got hurt, but like how badly did Nathaniel Hackett want to punt Melvin Gordon in the river? Like he wanted to Baxter him. The mean man punted Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. So I mean, like Gordon at least had been playing a majority of the snaps, getting passing game work, but like even that's complete dust to me.
Yeah,
it has been. These are monitor situations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the Lions. So, my only one is that DJ Chark came back, didn't play a lot of snaps in his first game off IR, 16% snap rate. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you said 2 touchdowns for Amon-Ra. He had 3 times, got tackled inside the 5. So I'm going to count that as a win for you.
Well, it's
His
all going to
X-
hit on Thanksgiving.
His XTD, if we have it's World Cup time expected goals, XTD was like probably 2.74. So that's a win. I'm gonna put that a win for you. Khalif Raymond still played above DJ Chark, still dusty. Brock Wright, the primary tight end with a 75% snap rate, but his route rate was 50%. So given we have TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Schultz, Dawson Knoxish, I have no idea who else on this Thanksgiving slate. Oh, Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith. Johnny dropped the ball in the open field by himself on, forgot that happened. What a bad offense. Why are they playing on Thanksgiving? Eject the Patriots into space. I guess Ramondre's cool. Just kidding. Oh, we have Ramondre on Thanksgiving. That's not bad.
Is it? Is it not bad?
He's fun. He's fun. He's
yeah.
the only fun player on that team, but he's fun.
Yeah.
But DJ Chark didn't have a big role, so I would not use him on Thanksgiving unless you expect his role to expand. Philosophical changes. We talked about the Bills earlier on. You talked about the Eagles. What else stood out to you in Week 11?
So I was trying to look up Amon-Ra St. Brown's expected touchdowns.
I told you it was 2.74.
Okay. But it actually was
2.74. I'm right.
0.5 according to PFF, but that seems low.
2.74.
All right. What am I talking about?
We talked about the Bills and the Eagles, so you had a couple other notes on philosophical shifts this week.
Yeah, the Chiefs pretty run heavy for them. Pass rate over expectation of 0.2 percentage points, but they're the leaders in the league at 12.4%. Again, part of it could have been the matchup. Part of it, pass catchers being so banged up, but
part of it, they need to force their best player on the field, Noah Gray.
Yeah, the Chargers played really slow, so I don't know. It just wasn't quite as much volume as the Chiefs generally get, but something to monitor. We don't do ETNs for philosophy changes, but it's only like a 2 for me. I don't think it's going to stick long term. Washington super run heavy, but as we talked about, did not feature Brian Robinson. It was the lowest pass rate over expectation of the year for them. With Heineke, it's always low, but I think this just makes me feel better about Antonio Gibson, where like this was the Brian Robinson script. And he was still relatively involved, but just really good for Gibson with no JD McKissick. I don't know how we don't like him next week. And then, the biggest pass rate over expectation jumps in terms of week 11 versus full season numbers were just all teams that are irrelevant for the most part. New Orleans, Tennessee, Carolina, Cleveland, and Houston. So
it's good for Burks, Treylon Burks at 59. The fact that they were willing to throw, even against a Packers defense is really bad against the rush.
Yeah.
I think that's encouraging for them, at least.
Sure.
Houston, you could not pay me to use any of them. New Orleans, it's good for Olave, I guess, but he's been just kind of there, I guess, with Dalton.
I feel the same way with Camaro, just kind of like there.
It's fair. Okay, let's do you want to do Thanksgiving? Oh, let's do our salary scroll. Let's do Thanksgiving first, because that's coming up on Thursday. So doing our salary scroll, we'll go position by position, looking at salaries, starting off with the Thanksgiving slate. Starting at quarterback, what do you see there?
Oh, goodness. So Josh Allen's 95, Dak's 8,000, and Daniel Jones is 75. I think that people are going to want to play Josh Allen, but the Dak is going to be the mega chalk because that's going to go a long way. And we already know that we have stud running backs. So
I think the fact that Dak has not shown a ceiling yet this year from a fantasy point perspective might keep a lid on that roster rate. It's not going to make it. He'll still be the most popular by a decent margin, but maybe it'll keep it a little bit more tempered at least. I wish the gap between Prescott and Jones were a bit larger. Because I don't mind Danny Dimes because he runs so much, but I wish it were a little bit larger.
Yeah, the theory's still there to pivot.
Yeah,
he's taken advantage of some easy matchups, largely because of the rushing, not necessarily the passing. He finally came through with the passing this past week with 341 yards, but
it's because they were facing Detroit. Although it was windy, but I think it's kind of just those three.
I've been looking at his numbers against bad pass defenses, and the passing is not generally there, but it finally was this week.
Yeah. I can't really. I mean, like guys like Goff and Cousins are more viable on a shorter slate because there are fewer cyborgs they need to overcome. But Christian Darrisaw, we talked about him on Thursday and how important he was to the Vikings. He played, but then he got another concussion, which means he will not play Thursday. And against a very good Patriots defense, that makes it tough for me to get jazzed about Cousins. So I think it's kind of just the Allen Dak with a little bit of dimes mixed in.
Yeah, you're banking against three guys with legitimate 30-point upside if you're not playing Allen, Prescott, or Jones.
Sure. Okay. Running back. Oh, I'm on the wrong slate. Sorry, I went to the wrong tab. I was like, Derrick Henry's not on Thanksgiving. I know that you think.
Oh, if he was, oh my goodness.
Okay, so we have Saquon 88, Pollard 85, Dalvin 78, and Ramondre 72. That's lower than I thought it'd be for Ramondre specifically.
Yeah, I think at some point you can't make all these guys 8,000.
Okay. Here's the thing that's encouraging. Jamal Williams is probably going to get attention because he scored 3 times. He is $100 lower salary than Ramondre. So Ramondre, I think, is actually the Vikings rush defense got booped on Sunday. I don't know what that means, but they got booped. I think Ramondre is pretty interesting at 72. I prefer Singletary.
76% snap rate, 79% route rate. We're seeing all these running backs now. Ever since I brought up that stat, I've seen like numerous guys above 75% route rate. Yeah, Ramondre is going to be a good play.
I think that Singletary is probably the guy to whom I will have the most exposure just because he opens up a lot and I need the salary savings at 69.
Boy, DeAndre Swift at 62 is going to tempt me.
He will not tempt me. Didn't Justin Jackson outsnap him this week?
It was very close, if not, yeah.
I mean, Justin Jackson's 52. If you're tempted by Swift, are you tempted by Justin Jackson, the ball carrier?
No.
Okay. Trying to cook up a narrative about Justin Jackson on Thanksgiving, and I got nothing.
Yeah, I think it's basically Singletary and up to consider.
Correct.
No screaming values.
Damian Harris is going to score 3 times, though.
Yeah, I knew that.
On 3 carries.
Yeah.
Okay, wide receiver. What do you see there?
Oh, just 2 guys above 8,000 and just 5 above 7,000. We have Stephon Diggs 93 against Detroit. That's going to feel like one that's scary not to have enough exposure to.
I'll be underweight.
I will be naturally because I'll prefer the running backs, but
yep, I agree. Not going to feel good, but I just realistically, I know that this will happen.
I'd rather bet against Diggs and Jefferson than Allen and Dak, basically, or like Allen and the running backs.
I agree with that. Gabe at 72 is fine. That's a fine salary.
Yeah. Amon-Ra finally going to score on Thanksgiving 76. I'll be there a good bit.
Didn't Calvin Johnson have like a 6 touchdown? He didn't have a 6 touchdown, but like basically a 6 touchdown game on Thanksgiving in 2015.
Didn't he do that every year on Thanksgiving?
No. You keep scrolling on salaries. I'm going to see what he did on Thanksgiving Day in 2015. I'm pretty sure he had 3 touchdowns.
Okay, so there's going to be legitimate opportunity costs though with receiver because again, we have 5 guys above 72, but only 7 above 6,000.
Calvin Johnson, Thanksgiving Day, 2015, 3 touchdowns, 14 targets, 8 receptions, 93 yards, but 3 tuds.
So what I'm hearing is Amon-Ra St. Brown going to give us a Calvin Johnson game.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is Calvin Johnson.
Yes.
The exact same usage, nothing different. Yeah. No body type differences, anything.
I think I'll have to take a look at Jacoby Myers just because we've seen his
it's so high at 67. So
it
high.
It is. But are you going to build? So let's say we default as. I guess we can get into this more on tomorrow's show, but you build around Dak or Allen and the running backs. Even Singletary and like Ramondre, you're not going to be able to play receivers. Are you going to be okay playing 3 complete punts at receiver?
So I would rather use your guy Khalif Raymond at 55 to save
Sure.
salary. I'd rather use Gallup at 57. Thielen had some targets this week. Oh, he had 3 for 25 yards. Gross. Yeah, we'll probably dig into Jacoby, as upsetting as that is. You're right. Receiver's bad. It's the worst position on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I mean, if you go Dak, Ramondre, Singletary, and the Giants, you still need 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and you're at 6880. So like
doable. Because tight end is low salaried.
Yeah, it's doable. Okay.
So tight end is Hawkinson 63, Schultz 58. Schultz at 58 is again really good.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
Keep on going back there.
Dawson Knox's workload's been better recently.
I need to I'm just so sad Lawrence Cager's not a tight end. This breaks my heart. I think Thanksgiving's ruined. Can we cancel Thanksgiving?
You can try.
You wouldn't object. You don't like Thanksgiving that much anyway.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Knox 20% target share the past 2 games, which helps adjust for play volume there.
Okay, that's fine. That's encouraging.
With 1 red zone target per game, just a 15% target share there, but I think that he's in play for someone who, because unless Hawkinson or Schultz puts up yardage, a touchdown from a tight end is going to be fine.
Yep. I feel like given the salaries on Knox and Schultz, I don't feel a lot of pull to get a super, super low salary tight end. I think those guys are pretty fine where they're at.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. We're not going to look at defense. Let's go to the main slate for week number 12 and pull up quarterback there. What do you see?
Okay, so we have Lamar's a bit under salary, probably at 82. Tua gets the Texans, though, at 83. He could torch them.
What's Jeff Wilson's salary? That's my first question.
Well,
we'll look at that later, but just saying.
Okay, so based on just my default screen size here, I see Mahomes at 9,000. Joe Burrow oversalaried, probably at 86 against the Titans. Just not the best matchup. Fields banged up.
They're not as good against the pass. You can beat them there. And if they're a funnel, bringing that word back,
but not a
funnel,
but not a priority play at 86 without a whole lot of rushing ability. So because we have Tua at 83 and a much easier spot to throw, Lamar against the Jaguars, and then Justin Herbert against the Cardinals at 79. I can't imagine punting at quarterback at all because some of those guys are going to put up games in those matchups.
What do you consider a punt? Because Gino is 76.
I could see that. I think it's a little bit more risk than I need
Trevor Lawrence is 69. There's too much temptation. I need to block these guys out of my screen.
Yeah, I think realistically, Gino, we like him. He can be efficient, but the odds of 30 seem a bit low. And
yeah, his odds scoring 30 are only 45%. I'd like that a little bit higher.
All right.
Herbert or Gino? Okay,
Herbert
so before adding in week 11 data, so this will change.
I know he's efficient. But
as of right now, most efficient projected offenses on the main slate. Kansas City 1, sure. Miami 2, obvious. Seattle's 3rd.
It's a $700 gap between Tua and Gino. That I'm not saying that's nothing,
but the Dolphins are going to win that game in the first quarter.
I mean, the Seahawks probably are going to win that game in the first quarter.
It's a 3.5 point spread, or I think 3.5 point spread versus 13.5. And my numbers say that 11.5. My numbers say it should be 13.5 for the Dolphins.
So it's just one of the spots where Okay. Lamar plays.
I'll get my exposure to Geno via the receivers. Just disregard me.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
You can move on. It's okay. You're right.
I don't think I'm playing anyone other than like Herbert and up. I would consider Geno if I love, if we really need, I mean, we might need Kelsey. So
I feel like it's going to be back. I just need there to be no wind in Jacksonville so I can just go bananas with Lamar because I think it's going to happen very soon.
Mm-hmm.
I just need the right spot. I think that's the right spot. I wanted to be last week, but then the wind pushed me away.
Yeah.
Next week. Okay, running back. What do you see there?
All right. Derrick Henry, 95. Christian McCaffrey finally back on the man slate, 92.
Ooh, Kenneth Walker is 84. Maybe I should use that instead of Geno.
Yeah, that's more appealing to me.
Given the passing game role he had before their bye. Ooh. Jeff Wilson, 77. That's like higher than I thought it'd be, but I'm not crossing that off.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Wilson versus David Montgomery, there's no conversation there.
Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh. Alvin Kamara, 71. All the algorithms, all the projections are going to love him. Play the 49ers.
It's not a fun spot.
No, it's not.
James Conner gets the Chargers at 7,000. He's awful, but I don't know if you can be inefficient against the Chargers. Also, Keontae Ingram's going to score a touchdown tonight, just so you know. Just letting you know.
So is the luster on Dameon Pierce fallen so far that he's not a consideration at 69 in a game that we'll not want to stack, but we're going to want?
It's a better matchup than he's had, but also like, what's the best case scenario? Like, can he get me multiple touchdowns?
No, because his team won't score multiple times.
Right. Especially when I know I have Antonio Gibson at 61. Yeah. It makes the incentive to go to Pierce lower.
Yeah, it's like a devil's advocate kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Rachaad White, 64. Coming off their bye. It sounds like Lenny should play, but it does seem like Rachaad White kind of justified getting himself more volume. I think 64 is pretty tempting for Rachaad White against Cleveland of all teams, who's terrible against the rush.
I do as well.
He's not as big of a write down as Gibson, but I would say that he is a rightish down.
Yeah, we're gonna have White, Pacheco.
Maybe Pirine.
Gibson.
We might be able to spend down at 3 running back slots this week. We haven't had that all year. We might get like mid-range for 3, but
yeah, we might get news that like Gus Edwards is gonna come back and be. I thought he's.
Nah, I think they'll mix other guys in. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm saying. I like Kenyon Drake fine, but he didn't really.
Yeah. Okay, I'm only saying this. I'm only saying this because I feel obligated to. Kyron Williams played more than half the snaps for the Rams, ran a lot of routes. They're huge underdogs against the Chiefs. He's $53. I'm probably not going to do it, but I do feel obligated to at least mention that he is physically there.
Sure.
That's all I'm going to do.
The odds he gets 15 FanDuel points less than 0?
I'd say it's like 2%. So I'll go over.
Okay.
And if he doesn't get there, I can say, well, that was 98%. You can never be wrong if you're talking percentages. It's great.
I'm going to have a lot of Antonio Gibson because I want those quarterbacks.
Yep.
So.
Do you want the receivers? Let's turn there now.
Oh, boy. Tyreek, 92 against the Texans. He could put up 45 there.
He could put up 45 where they could be up by 30 in the first half. He could never see the field again.
Yeah, teams definitely literally team. We saw a route with the Cowboys this week. They benched everyone after the first quarter. It was a complete.
What did CeeDee Lamb do in that game? What did Dalton Schultz do in that game? What did Michael Gallup do in that game? Tell me.
Tyreek Hill's better
than Michael Gallup. Are you joking? Are you telling me that Tyreek Hill's better than Michael Gallup?
Who'd you say first? Was it CeeDee Lamb?
No, I said Tyreek. I said Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup has 3 L's in his name. Tyreek Hill has 2. Therefore, Michael Gallup is better. Scroll down.
What are we doing with Devontae?
I don't know.
He's got 5 touchdowns in his past 3 games. He's got 29.6, 23.1, and 31.6 FanDuel points.
I mean, I'll probably have the salary to get there this week for once, which is encouraging. Devontae or Tyreek? So I would go Devontae due to game script.
Right now, Devontae due to game script as well.
I agree. He'll be a fun game stack with DK, DK and Lockett, just because I can actually get there given the salaries are running back this week. So I find that actually encouraging. I can use him for once. So he's going to go for 7 targets, 14 yards on 3 catches.
Yes. Amari Cooper, once again, superstar receiver, 78.
But he's not at home. Oh, he is at home. Just kidding. Home/neutral site, because it was a neutral site this past week. So we had to add that to the caveats, just so you know. I don't know if you're keeping track. No. Christian Kirk at 77 is a lot harder to justify. Seeing Keenan Allen at 73, Lockett 74, stuff like that. That makes it tougher.
Keenan's almost a write down for me.
I think with Lockett and Metcalf right there, he's a good play, but I don't know if he's a write down for me, given that I have other options.
Fair. That's fair.
He's a good play, though. I think that's still okay. Josh Palmer, though, at 68 gets tougher for me with Keenan there, but also the other guys there. That's tougher.
I was curious about Marquise Brown. But
he might be back.
He's 7,000.
Yeah. We forgot to mention the Commanders' best running back, Curtis Samuel. Another red zone rush attempt, which turned into a touchdown this week. He's 65. That's too high. DPJ is 63. I can still probably consider that. It's less appealing with Njoku healthy, but
sorry, you're a bit lower than I am now. Debo, complete dust at this point.
Dust bow?
At 6,900.
Oh, that's low. No, not complete dust. I think that's low enough to be a consideration.
Well, you glossed over him, so I thought,
No. I was distracted by Josh Palmer. Allen Robinson is still 68. What are we doing? Eject him. What did he do yesterday? 4 for 47. That's a very Allen Robinson line. The exact same as he's been doing with... Yeah, he did. The exact same he's been doing with Cooper Kupp.
I think we have a decent amount of mid-range receivers.
And studs.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel better about just blitzing the value running backs. Scrolling down at receiver, Treylon Burks 59. I still feel pretty okay about that, honestly.
Yeah. I don't dislike that. I don't know how many swings I'll be taking at the 5,000 range this week.
5,000 range is not super appealing unless we get no Juju, in which case Sky Moore / Justin Watson could be okay, but I probably won't need that value from receiver.
Yeah, those still aren't like priority plays. Those are like because the salary's low, which is different than thinking they're great plays.
Right. Correct.
So I'd probably go no lower than Treylon Burks at 59 as of now.
I might be with you. Okay, tight end. Mark Andrews, 73. Everyone's going to be on Kelsey off a 3-touchdown game. Mark Andrews didn't do anything last week. Mark Andrews, 73. This is the week to use him. I want him in my single entry lineups.
Yeah, stud tight end pivots are a great play. I'm sorry, but George Kittle, I mean, I get it at 62, but I'm not going to be there.
Probably not for me either. Just because I don't really care about that team / game. Value tight end is pretty bad. Njoku at 56, fully in play. Now that he's a week further removed from his injury. 3 targets, 17 yards this past week, but we know he has a path to yardage juice. But I don't see a lot else that's super appealing down here.
No. It's kind of scary, honestly.
It does mean that we'll probably need the value running back, which we kind of thought, but I think this kind of confirms it. Trey McBride, if he has a good role on Monday, he's $4,800 based on the Chargers. That could work.
Yeah.
Jody Foster's 45.
I know Logan Thomas got some work. They play the Falcons.
What's
He's
he?
52.
Nope. Too high. Okay.
So like this is looking like an early week split of like 50% Kelsey, 50% Andrews.
Yep.
Which is kind of weird, but
again, we have it at running back, so I think that's actually fine. So note to future me, this can be Thanksgiving, week 12, life. I don't care. What you got?
You really threw me for a loop there with life. I would say
football is life.
I would say even on a 3-game slate, make sure you guys have a realistic path to some sort of tangible upside.
And that's why the appeal in the value running backs is so high, is because Gibson does have a path because of the kind of work he gets. Pirine would, because he gets passing game work and goal line work. Rashad White has a path to upside because he seems pretty decent and seems like they probably want to give him a decent amount of work. We'll learn more about that throughout the week, I would think. And that allows you to get tight ends with ceilings, which is rare on the main slate. So I think that's the note to future me is don't be afraid to take the savings at running back because of what it can get you elsewhere for the main slate for week 12. Yeah. For the Thanksgiving slate, you should probably spend up a running back.
But yeah, that's different.
Okay. Well, that's all that we have here for today, but don't worry. We got a lot more coming throughout this week. Once again, our Thanksgiving show is on Tuesday, noon Eastern on the FanDuel YouTube page and up on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed after that. And then our Week 12 main slate preview, Wednesday, noon Eastern, FanDuel YouTube page, numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Go subscribe, both of those places. Brandon, if people have questions for you on Twitter, where can they find you there?
I'm on Twitter at Gdula13, GDULA13.
And I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. You can also follow the FanDuel Podcast Network at FanDuel Podcast. Big thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow to break down the Thanksgiving slate. This has been the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast powered by numberFire.